Executing SQL Loader. Let's open up a shell. Here we have a shell. The simplest thing to do is to type SQL Loader help equals y to bring up the syntax. And here we can see you log in with a specific username and password, specify a control file, a log file, a bad file, the input data file, assuming it's not in the SQL Loader control file, the discard file name for any rejected records based on the when clause, the number of discards to allow. In other words, if you go over a maximum value, the SQL Loader import will stop and abort. You can skip logical records, and you can load a number of logical records. You can allow a specific number of errors. The maximum value is 1,000,000. Number of rows in a conventional path bind array between data saves. In other words, it'll load so many rows and then it'll write it. Load so many rows, then write it. You can restrict that. This obviously restricts the size of the bind array, which is to do with the rows. In other words, when you get to a certain size, then it commits. Silent represses all messages. Direct uses direct path as opposed to conventional path. Ignore this. Parameter file we'll get onto. You can place commonly used values into a parameter file and reuse it for different SQL Loader executions. A parallel load executes loading in parallel, utilizing multiple CPUs. The file to allocate extents from, and there are various other options which we don't really need to go into. Let's quit out of here. And obviously it's given me an error here because I didn't actually execute anything. So when executing SQL Loader, all you would really do is to type something like the following. Let's delete all this data and move this down a little so we can see. You'd do something, for instance, such as SQL Loader, then you'd log in, and you could use your password if you want. And let's say at a certain database, you would specify a control file, abc.ctl. You can specify a log file, abc.log, and obviously the same applies to bad and discards, and then you could specify discard max, say as 10, skip, load, errors equals, etc., etc. It's fairly simple. We'll look at some other examples further on.